2016, Owen Brookhaven is born, and his dad, Ricky Brookhaven, becomes the mayor. He becomes the mayor for a long time since no one else wants to be the mayor. And he set up laws that his son is going to be the next mayor. So in 2019, his son, Owen Brookhaven, becomes the brand new mayor. He was very nice to the city that in 2023, he decided to set up an Olympics, starting off from 2023 Summer Olympics, 2023 Winter Olympics, 2024 Winter Olympics, 2024 Summer Olympics, 2025 Winter, 2025 Summer. Along with that, he also made a 2026 Summer Winter, 2027 in Summer Winter. And over those Olympic times is what he thought was the best idea for everything. But then, his son decided that until his son, Liam Brookhaven, decides to take his place. Liam Brookhaven looks strict, but he really is not. He improved the arcade by giving it more stuff. He also made the ice cream. He also renovated the ice cream shop into a pastry shop. He also made it so that he also added uniform racks in the grocery store. In 2028, Liam Brookhaven decided to order skyscrapers to be built in Brookhaven. But his daughter, Peach Brookhaven, had to took his place. She also ordered the new skyscrapers to be constructed. The skyscrapers began with a apartment that was constructed on the top floor of the apartments, and Mr. Brookhaven, along with that, celebrates his 101st birthday. And the construction of the skyscrapers was nearly there. The construction of Brookhaven skyscrapers began, and it didn't take long because after 2023, the skyscrapers, because after the Summer Olympics for 2027 were complete. After the Winter Olympics 2027, super quickly by 2000, it took from the early 2028, the winter 2028, all the way to maybe fall 2028, the skyscrapers were completed. Because they really wanted skyscrapers, so they got so much people hired, so PH Brookhaven was able to get it. But his son, let's call him Mr. Jack Brookhaven, began to think in 2030 he would decide that he would make a more futuristic cityscape from the power that he discovered in 2022 that he wanted to keep hidden until this day. Along with that, the apartment was given to Jack Brookhaven. And night times had expanded. And at that time, Jack Brookhaven also ordered people to try to invent more futuristic and better cars. And surprisingly, they invented a very, very futuristic one. It looked like this. This was the mayor's car. It was the most futuristic one they could actually make. But a year later, they made an underglow for it, and they also repainted it his favorite color, which is red. Owen Brookhaven's favorite color was also red. But in 2032, Owen Brookhaven celebrated his 43rd birthday. And Mr. Brookhaven dies at the age of 115. The reason why he aged so much, he was originally supposed to die at 107, but due to the future inventing way better medicines and different things, he was able to stay alive longer times. Jack Brookhaven was sad for his grandfather, and he decided that he wanted to make a way to bring him back. So they started inventing medicines, and by 2070, by the time he turned 40, they had invented one, and Jack decided that he would test it on Mr. Brookhaven, and it brought Mr. Brookhaven back. They also made an immortality thing that made Mr. Brookhaven, the owner of Brookhaven, be able to stay alive for almost the infinity of time. And so they started selling that. And they said you can disable it whenever you would like by drinking the side potion. But his son, his name, Brookhaven, became the mayor in the year 2100. But by 2125, the world, the so much electricity was being used that they had to evacuate the planet immediately. And so they ordered a bus, which the buses were still useful because they were the best way. And they thought that, and Brookhaven asked the safety people, why can't we just go to a different place? This place is pretty old, isn't it? And he said, well, so much electricity is being used in the world right now. And so we need to evacuate the planet. And he thought that that was almost impossible. And so he got buses. They weren't as high quality and all that as everything, but they were able to build a temporary bus. It drove through the ice tunnels of snowy Brookhaven. But then a bad part came. They got out of the car because for some reason they got this weird blow feeling and this weird cold, icy feeling. Because then they realized that it had started snowing, and due to that they had to evacuate everyone out of the area as quick as they can. Luckily, back in 2019, they had constructed a rocket. And so they took as many people, the most important people there, like the safety people, and then they took more poor people than the rich, because they said the rich bragged too much. That's how nice Brookhaven was. And he wanted to be nice. And it had already become daytime again. So they got the mayor into his astronaut suit, and they launched away, and they decided that they would make decisions on the rocket ship and what they should do in the time that they will be there. As soon as that happened, all the snow stopped, and the sky turned. So they escaped. The countdown continued. Everyone was nearly ready, all the astronauts, everyone. They were all ready to escape the planet that they had lived on for their eternity. They pushed them off into space. They had to go into hypersleep. Or cryosleep, really. And they stayed like that to the year 2100. Or 2200, actually. In 2200, they woke up, and they had even more memory for some reason. They turned on the afterburner because they needed to get themselves back. And then they told him to turn it off, so they turned it off. They decided to check on the damage to see if it was good or if it was bad. They decided to get medical to make sure everyone was safe. They looked at the fuel and damage and realized that it wasn't so well. And so they decided to land down. They realized that something had happened, and they realized that aliens had entered their ship. They needed to evacuate their planet. They needed to evacuate their ship immediately, so they decided to make land. And so they returned to their original rocket area. They went out, and they realized it was so dark that there was no oxygen in the atmosphere. They felt very creeped, and they really didn't want to leave their space area. But when they went out, they found out that there was rocks and infected areas that had existed. Even during the daytime, it would be super dark. The atmosphere was way too thick for anything to happen. Well, it was actually too thin, so it couldn't trap the light. Man Brookhaven, in the year 2200, decides that he wants to find a vehicle that they could use. They decided to take out their space vehicle. They decided to use it to travel through the dark. And then they realized that they had materials to repair the planet. And it turns out they decided that they thought that they had materials to use. So they started setting up those materials, which seemed like fireworks. And they would send stuff into the atmosphere to thicken it. After a couple of days of repairing and all, they decided to let the last few atmospheric things just go. As at that moment, it was actually very foggy. At least they could see now. They just needed to add one more little thing. Which would make the fog go away. And over the next couple of days, they didn't leave their station. But luckily, very luckily actually, Mr. Brookhaven Man Brookhaven decides that they should stop it with that, and the fog atmosphere was finally gone. And so that fog atmosphere could lead them to go explore how the planet looks. And it turns out days are now 437 hours long. So it's basically been daytime this whole time. And in some way, the fountain of Brookhaven was still existing. And somehow the buildings were still standing, although they were rusty, and it seemed impossible that there were lights that were still on and everything could literally still be alive. They decided to check on Lake Madison. They expected all the water to be drained or it to be polluted. But when they drove over to Lake Madison, they realized that everything was safe. The waterfall was still running carefully, slowly, and all the water was kept fresh. And that was because of the water flow from the island. They wanted to return Earth, and that island especially, back to its normal form. It turns out everyone in the entire world who managed to escape were still in space and were going to be there for the next couple millions of years. And all of those aliens, they realized, were actually aliens who had adapted to the very harsh environment of there not being any oxygen. They even found that Mr. Brookhaven's house was still kind of alive. Over time, when the sky turned green, as it then turned into sky clouds, which began to build up, and due to the cold temperature, it began to snow. It took them about 5 years to complete the formation, and due to their clean atmosphere, it would cause the entire area to start to snow. And they realized and they didn't think much of it, but when they left, the temperatures they needed to scan, and the outside temperature was scanned to be at negative 35 degrees Celsius. And it was about the temperature as the peak of Mount Everest. And the cold, because in summer times, summer could be very, 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 very hot. and they scanned that it could plummet, and that it could possibly plummet the next day to about the temperatures of Antarctica's coldest day. So luckily, they started adding heat, and they made the atmosphere so it wasn't so cold, and it took time. Before it stopped snowing, and no one could even tell, and they realized it was warming. And due to this, all of this evaporation, it began to rain so much. And they realized this rain was actually fresh water. Somehow. So they realized that life could have been evolving in the waters. And all of a sudden it stopped raining. Because that wasn't the only wave that they were having. It rained again with an even harder thing. And with that rain, they decided that they would just leave, and they started going until when they left, they realized that the entire area was flooding. They had to handle it. But this water was dirty from the grass and dirt buildup on the ground. It rained and flooded for one whole year. Because of how much snow there was from that super cold temperature. They kept driving, wondering how the city would be repaired. Until finally, that year, all the humans had returned to the planet. And luckily, they were able to return Earth and all the cities and everywhere around the world to become returned to the normal form we know it as today. And they could actually breathe in the atmosphere. Man, Brookhaven felt extremely happy about this new change. And that is Brookhaven. And that is Brookhaven's revolution.